session. And we are recording, just so everyone knows. So I welcome you all here. I recognize it's mid-afternoon for some of us, probably different times of the day. Maybe we're all jumping between other work commitments, or maybe we're just doing this on our free time. But just to be sure, everyone, okay, audio is fine. Okay. At any point, if my audio is bad or it goes out, do let me know in the chat, just in case. So yes, here we are. We're all here for shared purpose, which is we want to get certified, bona fide and certified in Marketing Cloud. So I'm impressed by you all for taking the initiative. We can appreciate there's many hours behind training for any given certification. They only get harder the higher up you go on the totem, but you've all decided to take on that initiative, and that's good stuff because it is a critical part of your career. So we are here as a team, as your Trailblazer community, to help you get up to speed as best we can for these tests. I'm sure you've joined some of the other sessions in this series, and I thank you for joining mine today. If any questions come up, throw them in the chat. I may not answer them right away, but we will be keeping track of them, and I will do my best to address any and all questions as they come through. We have an hour and a half for today. We may not need all the time. Let's see how that goes. We may use all the time. It's perfectly fine. Either way that goes. So it's my pleasure to be with you today. To introduce myself, my name is Tom Conant. I am a Salesforce Marketing Cloud architect consultant based out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I myself work as a freelance consultant. I was privileged to be selected as a marketing champion for this year. I am a co-founder with a training initiative with other fellow presenter and champion Natasha, who presented a few days ago, I believe. I've gone through all the certifications, so I know what it feels like. I feel the pain. The consultant one is so very hair-pulling. The admin is a little bit better, but they all have their difficulties. And this is where I'm happy to join you today to help you in this process. You're welcome to find me on LinkedIn. I accept everyone and everyone. Let's stay connected. We're all in this together, one big community. So today, when looking at the admin certification, I get to talk about maintenance. Maintenance and monitoring is how I see this. One of the aspects of your test, this one worth 15% of your test, you can expect there to be around 9 questions on the test around maintenance specifically. And this can deal with many things to maintain, monitor, just keep a healthy check on what's going on in your account. So this has to do with data, reporting, and different alerts and notifications that can be made available to you. So we're going to go through some of the topics as best we can that are relevant to the test. Of course, we can't fit everything into one session, but hopefully out of this, even if I save one question for you on that test, I will sleep better at night. So like we said, 9 questions on it. You know how these questions go. They'll probably present a scenario. They'll probably paint a paragraphed picture of something that you as the Marketing Cloud admin has to face while you're dealing and managing your account, and to come up with the best solution for that particular scenario. So that's what we're going to take a look at with the scenarios that you can probably expect to come up on the test. And we'll do our best to fill in the details in and around them. So the very first question we might ask ourselves is, why even bother with this, right? We are all professionals that have done a real good job building out an amazing Marketing Cloud account. This is an account that's doing lots of good stuff, deploying tons of good emails, other marketing communications. You are proud of your work. So why even bother looking at any of this? Because we know that for as long as humans, and I include myself as one of them, as our humans are in the account, things can go wrong. Whether it's an overt break, whether it's just a performance degradation, whether it's systems or automations that maybe have skipped a beat one day, anything can happen in these kind of accounts. And especially you can expect down the road, you are going to be the admin holding the keys to the kingdom of your Marketing Cloud account. And you're going to have many automations running, doing all kinds of things. You're going to have journeys all over the place, doing amazing customer journeys. And any one of these could have issues along the way. So to understand ways to monitor those, ways to understand those, ways to access the information that can inform you on how to manage and fix or update these things is absolutely important. Sometimes it's easier to build the thing and it's harder to keep it going. So that's our scenario. We are looking at a mature account that has lots going on. And what are some of the standard things we would do to keep a check on the health and maintenance of this account? And even before we step into the account, let's start with overall status monitoring. What we mean is this is a cloud-based service, and we have the fine folks at Salesforce that are running the show behind the scenes. And of course, they are human too. And whether or not it's a human action, whether it's just a system down, things can degrade, performance can go down, and you as an admin want to keep your thumb on that. You want to know, is there an issue going on? Is there maintenance going on? Is there anything going on that might be affecting in a small or significant way my account? And how do we do that? We do that with Salesforce Trust. This is the home for the real-time information on system performance and security. Anything to do as a whole on your account and anything going on within the Salesforce universe can be found at Salesforce Trust. It's a fabulous place to jump into when you're not sure or when you see an issue to confirm and validate. So what does this look like for us? This is a place where I can go and see status specifically. They keep updated on what is going on with any given stack, any given database at any given time. And should there be an issue on one or many of those, this is where you can go check out to see. You can look up status as a whole across many things, or you can look up your specific account to see what's going on within that. And as well, beyond status, quite often you might have to confirm, investigate, provide information on security related information. And this is where you go to get the most comprehensive set of information on anything to do with security in the Salesforce universe. Tons of documents around every topic you can imagine. So when your tech lead or when your VP of technology, when somebody asks you that question around security, this more times than not will be the place you can go to get answers. And of a similar vein, compliance. Beyond just straight security, there's compliance with the myriad of different compliance requirements all over the place. And similar idea, like if you need to go find an answer, this will more than likely be where you go to find that. So in regards to status, as an admin, realistically, this is what you might, more than likely where you'll be going to do. You want to go here to see status. It's not often when things go wrong. It's more often that certainly maintenance might come in the role, and as an admin, okay, it's your task to understand how to find out details. And it's quite literally as simple as looking at the screenshot here. I can see in this particular instance, in my demo account, I can see all of the different applications, studios, everything available there. And I can see just in an easy to follow visual way that I got the good old green. Green means go. Things are running fine. You might expect to see yellow or red. That could reflect issues. That could reflect something going on to cause concern or degradation worth knowing about. So great. I mean, this comes up for me from time to time. Things aren't loading right, or I might have an issue logging in. And then it's at that point, as an admin, I will hop over to here to take a look and see, oh yeah, I see there is something down. It's a known issue. Oh yeah, they're on it. And within 5 minutes or what have you, you get the green back and everything is good to go. So certainly when your PM is running around trying to figure out why can't we do anything, this can be very helpful to calm them down and bring peace to the team. Now, what's very nice about this is, well, I don't necessarily need to log in every time. Don't forget to subscribe for notifications so you can get these kind of alerts or maintenance notifications sent directly to you. Kind of a preemptive in the inbox, find out before any of this happens. It's very helpful. Just do that right away so you don't have to worry about this later. And as well, I mean, we know that there's often releases. We know that there's often maintenance pushes as this whole Salesforce universe continues to evolve and improve and what they're doing. These will happen, and those have the potential to have windows of time where it will be down. Now, we know that they always plan this for off times as best they can, as little impact as possible, but it's always something to be acutely aware of as an admin that, hey, I know that there's a maintenance something coming up at this time. Be aware if there's anything that looks funny in it. Well, okay, I know what's going on, and typically these kind of things are very quick to be completed. So that being the case, let's close my LinkedIn. There's no reason to see this, but then you get that hover bar that gets right over the X, so I can't do it right away. Let's just take a quick look at this. So if I'm the admin, I go to the site, trust.salesforce.com, and in my case, English. One-stop shop for anybody in any platform within this Salesforce universe. You'll see that all the different Salesforce products are available here for similar purposes, but in our case, we are always taking a look at the salesforce.com in regards to Marketing Cloud. So if I want to see what's going on first, I might just click straight into that, get a kind of like high-level view of what's going on around here. This is an opportunity to see ongoing maintenance. If there's anything listed, there's opportunity to see ongoing incidences if there's anything going on. Whoever is behind the scenes working on this is very good at keeping these things up to date as they work through one or the other. And in my case, I care specifically about Marketing Cloud. So I can click in the Marketing Cloud here and just see on a whole how all of the different databases are doing across the universe. There's tons of them out there. God, there's so many of them out there. And this is one place to go to just see specifically how's the universe doing, whether it's for status and general maintenance notes. But often when I personally go in, I'm going in to see my account, my database. And for that, all I need to do is have my specific account MID, unique identifier for my account that I'm working out of. And if I paste that in the top up here, it will bring me to the matching MID for my account. And if I go into that, here I can see how my demo account is doing. And that is a whole lot of green. So I know that everything is going just fine. One thing to note that's also very useful when here is you may come up at times where you want to know what stack am I on. And stack, it's just a server stack, and this is a good spot to get that. Quick and easy spot to, for some reason I can't remember this ever, so I have to keep coming back to remind myself again and again. And this is where I go to do that. So again, I go here, I can check that out. I can see what's going on with any upcoming maintenance. Perfect. I don't have to go here often. It's not very often I have to go here, but certainly it does come up, and it's good to remember that in your back pocket. And again, if anyone has any questions along the way, don't hesitate to put them in the chat. And I'll get to them as I can. Okay, so that's your kind of like global view of everything beyond the account. This is just as Salesforce as a universe as a whole. But now just kind of going out into the Marketing Cloud account specifically. And before I get into any of the other ways that we can observe, pull, extract, deal with different information in the account, I wanted to first just touch on a concept that's kind of a foundation to a lot of what these different tools do. And that has to do with what we call data views. Okay, data views, these are the hidden engine underneath the hood of Salesforce Marketing Cloud. And what I mean by that is when I'm staring at my account, when I'm looking at my Marketing Cloud user interface right here. This is all good and fine. And all the smart people at Salesforce have built all this to make it all easy for me to use it. But behind the scenes, behind all of this are big, huge, giant data view tables. And these are representing a myriad of different topics or aspects of your account as a whole, whether it comes to sending or maintenance, that is always maintaining data to be used. So examples of this are in the backend, we know we have a data view on all bounce information. And there's a series of different fields, i.e. attributes, collecting information all the time on bounce records. Same goes for click records. It can tell you job ID, it can tell you subscriber key, it can tell you the event date. There's a whole list of different fields that at all times, this data view is capturing, maintaining this in behind the scenes. So job information, sent information, unsubscribe information, push, mobile, journey. It's just piles of tables. I mean, I didn't even have room here to write them all. Here is an example that the brilliant Susanna had created. So full credit, where credit's due. Just, you do not have to memorize this. Do not memorize the fields here. I just wanted to impress upon you just the scale of the data going on behind the scenes automatically. This is what Marketing Cloud is underneath the hood. All of these tables architected together. So as you are pulling reports, as you're pulling extracts, as you're working with SQL, this is the data that's fueling much of that as you're in the account. So just to reiterate, you do not have to memorize this, although if you do, we'll give you a gold star. So Jesus put a question in there of, I think you have to ask Salesforce to activate this. This is just part of the platform. Like conceptually, I mean, I know the UI is obviously very important, but this is Marketing Cloud, the brilliance of what used to be ExactTarget, now Marketing Cloud, of this whole architecture and how the UI we deal with interacts with this. So, as soon as you have an account and you have access, this is already set up. Oh, push data view. Yes. Jesus is correct about that. There are these hidden data views that are available to you, like push and such. So they may not be overtly available, but they can be if needed. Thank you for correcting me. Yes, and Gilda put a scheme up there. So brilliant stuff, all that. So things to note about these data views. Okay, they do not represent the entirety of your account's information as long as it's been around. That'd be way too much data. There's no need for that. So it only stores up to 6 months worth of data at any given time. So of note then is, if you have analytics teams, if you have other folks that want to obtain all of these various raw data views, you just need to be aware that you only have up to 6 months in there. So if they want to have historical data, often you would then put in some processes, automations to provide this data on a regular basis. So a third party, an external team, can take that and maintain the historical view. Marketing Cloud itself will only have 6 months. But the beauty of this is, and as you are building more and more things, all of this data is accessible to you. Yes, the out-of-the-box components we're going to look at this is what they're pulling from to fuel the reports and the different data views they bring out. But for me personally, when I'm running my queries, I'm writing SQL. I'm writing my SQL to access this data as well. So if you have the know-how with SQL, for example, you can pull this and you can work magic having access to such kind of profoundly rich data is all of this. And even if you don't, you can possibly leverage this by pulling out what you need, maintaining some sort of accessible data extension, holding that particular data view data you need. And then at that point, your AMP script can leverage that, your SSJS. So depending on how you need to use it, depending on your capabilities, this data is available to you to be brought in and used as needed. It's very powerful stuff when working with the data. So yes, as is being mentioned in there, this kind of data can be exported out of the box. We're going to take a look at tracking extracts in just a moment. And specifically, we're going to take a quick look at as well how I might access this with a query. the engine underneath the hood of the Ferrari that we are driving called Marketing Cloud. So now let's talk a little about this whole maintenance idea and how Automation Studio is your best friend. Granted, I hope we have friends outside of the platform. I spend so much time in this account that I don't even know if I know humans anymore, but that's fine. That's for me to deal with and not you. So Automation Studio is your best friend with maintenance. The reason being is it's through Automation Studio that you have many of the activities that can access this data, can process this data, can move this data around, export it, whatever it is you're trying to do for your specific use case. So what examples might that be? Well, actually, we'll pause here. So maybe we'll go back a sec. We know that because it's an Automation Studio, these kind of things can be automated. The idea of a tracking extract, humans don't and shouldn't need to export this manually each and every week. The beauty is we can set up automations to run a tracking extract, to refresh a query, to do all these different things around maintenance. So with the right planning, with a bit of foresight, and you can set up a very sophisticated automated infrastructure to maintain all these different things that you or your teams need. It's very helpful. As well, because it's automated, for many of these activities, you have the ability to set rolling dates. So i.e. you're not hard coding timeframes, and that's what your tracking extract is going to do. Your tracking extract is going to pull the last 7 days. And anytime you run your tracking extract, it's going to pull again the last 7 days. So again, the idea of not needing human updates or human interaction as little as possible. Let the system do the work for you to keep things healthy and clean. And again, we want to be able to export this out to individuals, and any Marketing Cloud account, as I believe was discussed in previous sessions, or if not, spoiler alert, they're going to talk about this in upcoming sessions. All of your accounts have SFTP accounts associated with them, up to 3. So the beauty of that then is just out of the box, nothing tricky needed. You are able to take any and all of this data that you need, push it out to your SFTP that is connected. So anyone can physically log in to get a file. You can automate pickups from that SFTP. Sky's the limit from that regard. So it just makes moving and pushing data in and around your ecosystem oh so easy, smooth as butter. So of the different extracts that could be done, probably the 4 most common that are probably the most relevant to most programs would be the 4 you see here. And even at that, to be honest, the convert XML doesn't come up a ton, at least in my experience, but it does come up because sometimes you get handed an XML file, and maybe for reasons, that's the format that this information can be handed. And so out of the box, you have this ability through these to convert an XML to a usable delimited file, which you can then bring into Marketing Cloud. So it can really save some developer time to be able to do that. But the 3 that I probably more often than not will be using for any given purpose are the tracking extract, zip, data extract, and data extension extract. Tracking extract, somebody mentioned in the chat, it's exactly right. This is an out-of-the-box means to access all of those different data views, to pull those data views up and out of the platform, and to put them into the SFTP. So if somebody wants, say, the raw data of all bounce records from the last 7 days, a tracking extract is a great way to do that. Again, this is the raw data, so there's no manipulation to this data. This is just straight up grabbing every and all record that's available in there, pulling all the different attribute fields associated with it, and moving it out of the platform. Most commonly used when an analytics team is going to take this raw data and process it. They don't need you to necessarily process it beforehand. That's their kind of task, their duty to do that. So, but it's very useful from that regard. As opposed to the data extensions extract, which is exactly as it sounds. It's the ability to select any data extension in your account, to lift whatever data exists in that data extension up, and to export it as a CSV file. So the beauty of that then is like, what's a data extension? So I can control the attribute names. I can control settings of the fields. I can control a number of things within my data extension. So it's great when your data team kind of wants specific field names to make this seamless kind of integration of that into their system, and I can accommodate that by managing it within my data extension. Now, it may require a little bit of query work to produce the data, kind of a separate, but for as long as whatever you've set up can get the data into a data extension, this data extension extract is able to take it and export it out. And then the zip data extract is just useful because sometimes you're trying to export a big old data file that's got a ton of information, a very large file size, and it can just be good to be able to zip that or compress different things together or zip them together through this activity. So there you go. Celestino is asking, is it better to do data extracts for reporting purposes, or is there reporting capabilities in Marketing Cloud? The answer is yes to both, double yes. This is very useful for reporting purposes. I would probably say that idea where like there's a team that's going to take raw data and process it. There are out-of-the-box reporting capabilities, which we're going to look at in just a moment, that can do that processing for you. You can imagine, I want a report that's going to process this data and tell me what was the performance of the last 7 days of emails. You can either process those out of the box within the platform or export the raw data out of it. So at this point, we are moving data out of the platform. Everyone's happy because they're getting all that sweet raw data that those analytics folks love to work with. And what that probably means then is, well, you probably now have a number of automations working at the same time, a number of automations doing a bunch of different tasks within the platform. And I don't know about you, but I do not plan to log in every 30 minutes to double check how my automation's doing, make sure everything's good. I would rather not do that. I have a lot of Netflix to watch, so I can't spend that time doing that. So therefore, it would be ideal if there were notifications that I could set up to tell me when things might be going wrong or right in the platform, or provide to me information on how some of these activities are going. So here are three common ones that I am using quite often as I'm building accounts, as I'm setting up different flows and programs. The main one, just straight out of the box, always use is every single automation you build can have what you see on the left, which is the automation success or error notification. So it is as it sounds. If you put an email in the success option, that means that every time that automation runs, it's going to tell you it was successful. Or if you put your email in the error or skipped run, of course, if this automation were to fail, maybe there's an issue with one of the activities within it. It's at that point, it will tell you that there was an error and alert you in your email inbox. Generally speaking, I don't usually recommend to put the run completion, because we all get enough emails in our day. Who needs to get reminded every single day that everything's going very well? Although it's kind of optimistic and uplifting to get reminded every day everything's great. But generally speaking, I don't use that one very often. The only scenario I think I would ever use that is if I have set up some sort of recurring, say 5-day email deployment automation. I may want to just know that everything was successful for those 5 days, day after day. Technically, it's unnecessary, but especially when it comes to deployments, I don't know, I tend to be a bit more conservative with that, and I do want the success notice. So, but generally speaking, what I use this for is the error. Put my email there, and whether it happens tomorrow, whether it happens 8 months from now, it will alert me when this automation errors, and it's at that moment I know to stop watching Netflix, log into the platform, go take a quick look at what just happened, so you can fix it sooner than later. Another notification that's so very helpful, so very useful, has to do with data imports. When you're importing a CSV file say with 100 records that you're trying to bring into the platform, and you go through either an import activity, and so you can automate it, or you've just manually imported straight into a data extension. Once you have initiated that and the import is complete, you will receive what you see in the middle, the import notification. And what's great about this is not only will it tell me how successful it was, not only will it give me information on if any records were not imported, what is the nature of that reason they were not imported, but then it'll also provide a separate text file with tons of information on each and every record that was either skipped or erred or an issue with it. So if I try to import 100 people and I realize actually only 90 were imported and 10 of them were rejected for reasons, this gives me all the information I need to know why that would be the case. Yes, Courtney, the short answer is yes. It is not the case that you always need all of these notifications always. 100% agree with that. Often for myself, if I'm building a new automation, for the first few days, maybe for the first week, perhaps, I kind of turn on everything. I just turn on all the notifications because I'm trying to be extra careful with everything along the way, just to make sure everything's working as it should. But certainly, presumably, things fall into a nice steady state, and okay, at that point, I don't need a daily import notification per se. I'm confident that all these automatic systems are working. I might remove my email out of there, or I'll definitely remove like a run completion notification. I definitely don't need that, but I will always have my runtime error email in there, like always, because again, like if everything's going fine, I'll never get that. I'll never get notified. And 9 months from now, when I'm forgetting all about this in there, and then I get that, a nice little reminder. Now, another notification capability that I'm a huge fan of, I use it all the time, is this verification notification activity. And what's great about this is as you're processing data in the account, as you're running queries to segment here, combine there, join with that, as you're running all this, wouldn't it be great to be able to have a way to monitor the results from that? So if I'm running a query that's, say, supposed to always grab subscribers, and maybe tomorrow, for some reason, it finds nobody, well, wouldn't it be great to know that nobody was found tomorrow? And that's exactly what this verification notification can do. You can set some scenario, say data extension contains 0 records. If that is true, then I have the ability to email myself a notification. Another scenario, which I will show you in a moment, is I might go the other way. I might have, for example, say a bounce query. And that bounce query is, for some reason, let's just say, monitoring any hard bounces that are occurring in the last 24 hours. And maybe it's imperative that if a hard bounce occurs, I need to know. Somebody needs to know. So I might set up a query that every day is checking to see, has anyone bounced? And then I set up a verification notification that's going to monitor that and say, hey, if the record count is ever greater than 0, that means we found something. Alert Tom Conant, send them an email. I see that, I know to go in and check what's going on. So it can kind of work every day. It's a very useful tool. Actually, another useful thing about it is it can actually stop an automation too. So sometimes I put this in between a query and a journey entry event. As I automate this every day, I don't need it to attempt to inject if nobody's there. So a bunch of different use cases for it. We don't have to go through them all today. It's not really needed, but a very useful tool that I implore you all to explore with, see how it may fit into your strategies. A healthy marketing cloud is a happy marketing cloud. All of this is to say that knowing what's going on in the account is critical to keep things healthy and keep things happy. And one of the tools that's very useful to pull this information based around your deployments, i.e. your emails have gone out, records have been sent an email. Wouldn't it be nice to have an easy way to monitor your email deployments, monitor your SMS, monitor your push? And that's where we look at send logging. And it is as it sounds. It's a way to log your send results as they happen. So as I deploy my email out of the account, I have the option to log the results into a send login table. And this will be a single source of truth for you when it comes to any and all records that have been sent an email. So it gets used or information is logged in a number of different scenarios in the account. Salesforce sends will log accounts, guided sends, A/B test, triggered sends, user initiated. Effectively, just about every type of deployment out of the account can log these kind of results to this table for reference if needed. Now, the one you may see not included here is the journey builder, which does not necessarily leverage a send logging. So it's the thing to note, it's not considered a triggered send to qualify for this. But that's fine. This is more to represent kind of your other ad hoc or your triggered deployments out of the platform. So where these come in. So a number of different like avenues that could result in information being submitted. So what does that look like? When I go to create a data extension, this is when I have the ability to create a send log. So if you see in the screenshots here, when I have started, I create new data extension option or steps. When you go to the create method, you'll see that there's a template method. And if you select this, these are your out-of-the-box templates for send login. And what you might notice here is that there's a few different template log options. We have SMS, we have send push, and we have the send log, i.e. emails. So you can create one of these three types at any time. You can create all three. To note is you can only have one send log, though. So you can't set up one send log here and then maintain a separate one over here for email. You have an email send log. So you keep in mind you may have one send log per type, but you could set up and maintain 3 separate send logs, one for push, one for email, one for SMS. And on the left, you'll see that when you create these, it creates or it will set up a required fields, just part of the template. So no matter what, with your send log, it's going to capture this information at the time of send. What's great too is you do have the ability to add custom fields. If you have certain attributes, if you have other attributes you wish to include that aren't system fields, then you can add up to 10 here to also capture the information. Nikki, to clarify, Nikki, I believe, sorry, apologies if I said that wrong. What I mean is you can have one send log per type. So I can only have one email send log at any given time. I can't have 3 separate email send logs within this account. However, I can have a separate push, a separate email, and a separate SMS. Those, you can have one of each of those 3 types, but not multiple of each type. I hope that makes sense. Yes, awesome. So the beauty of send login 2 is it's relatively set it and forget it. Again, we don't want to bog our days down any more than we have to with work. We got enough other things to do. So when you set this up for as long as your deployments are set, and there's an option to check a box that says, I believe it says submit to log or something like that. As you go through the deployment configuration, then it will automatically log the information in here. So as a general maintenance, just if you have an account, you are the admin, this is just something you do. It's just you set this up, you set it and forget it. You may never need to look at the send log ever. You may often look at the send log with your queries or other folks. You may not look at it for the longest time, and then all of a sudden, 9 months from now, there's a reason to have it. There's a use case that it's useful to have. It's one of those things, it's amazing to set it up early, let it do its thing, and you never know when you may have use for it. So just a few key points around it. Again, the idea is there's only one send log allowed per type. So one email send log, not multiple email send logs. You can have up to those 10 custom fields in a standard send log. You can add them in to capture the additional information beyond the required fields. This can be, or because this is being stored in a data extension in your account, it can be referenced by AMP script. It can be referenced by SQL for whatever purpose you might need. Whether you're doing segmentation or you're doing dynamic content, technically it is accessible to these tools. Yes, and good call, Nikhil. My final point is, yes, we are going to be compiling quite a lot of information. So yes, a data retention policy is very, very good to do, best practice to do here. Yes, Nikhil, I mean, it may be redundant over time. That's a good reason too. It may just be too much. You don't want to maintain millions of records unnecessarily. So it's a bit of a, it's a little bit subjective, but certainly you want to put some sort of cap on that for what may make more sense in your scenario. And send logging is applicable to when you deploy, it will always submit to the data extension, whether it's deploying against a list or deploying against a data extension. All roads lead back to the send log from either. Just speaking to Courtney's question there. Huh. We just ran through a bunch of concepts. It's totally understandable if you don't know the inner details of them all. Nobody does, to be honest. There's you can go down endless snakes with use cases, scenarios with all of these. The critical part is just to be aware that these tools exist, understand some of these key points, and just be able to differentiate between send log versus tracking extract versus data extension extract. Just keep those concepts understood. These are the kind of things that could come up on the test. Again, there's only 9 questions, so it's hard to say which ones ever will, but certainly it could be anything to do with any of these. Now, those concepts we just went through, those represent your more, let's just say like relatively hands-on tools. It's probably not the most accurate way to describe that, but tracking extracts, you have to build an automation. Tracking extracts, you have to produce results, write a query, you have to configure things, a little bit more involved, but maybe all you want is just like the reporting. So reporting came up early in this. You just want to be able to pull standard basic reports and make those available to yourself, to other people. You want to be able to automate these things. Certainly Marketing Cloud has those capabilities available to you. So let's take a look a little bit at reporting and analytics. Now I should take a note to just acknowledge that there does still technically exist classic reports in the platform. Now, the reason I kind of word it that way is you as an admin should not be using classic reports effectively. They are no longer being updated. It's legacy tools and capabilities. Effectively, all of these classic reports are now done in the analytics builder side of things. So, it just hasn't disappeared out of the platform yet. But the reason we bring it up is, this could be a question. I believe it's the case that there could potentially be classic report questions just because of when the admin exam was written. I wouldn't go too down the classic report rabbit hole, to be honest, but it's just good to be aware that there exists this legacy platform or capability. You can see in the screenshot under interactions in the report section, there's a bunch of different reports available. And some of the examples of that are those standard email reports you may want. A recent email send summary comes to mind. Some report that's going to pull basic KPIs on maybe some rolling date. Give me the emails from the last 7 days. And here's all the KPIs you could ever want. Opens, clicks, sends, deliverability, unsubscribes, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a number of those. Some of those email reports can revolve around the job specifically. Some of them can revolve around users in the platform, and some can be more general, like the recent email send summary, as opposed to, say, administrator reports. This can be more general reports on your account as a whole, what has the total send count been from your platform? Give me some more general overview of your account. And this probably falls more in the line of like a health or maintenance, just the ability to take a bit of an eagle's eye view on what's going on in the account rather than micro details on individual campaigns. So as reports go, I mean, those are probably the most useful ones that I might ever use, either in Classic or as the analytics builder side, as we're about to see. But they're there, and you can see that you can set file types, you can set the rolling dates or set dates, you can export them of different file types, you can email them to yourself. You have a whole bunch of options, and you have like, how do we want to prepare this data, and how do we want to provide it to us, in what form, and in what manner. But since then, we've moved on to Analytics Builder. And this is your effectively one-stop shop in Marketing Cloud for analytics related information. We're not going to talk about today, but there is, just as reporting goes, there is the new Dataramas email reports. Fabulous new tool. Love using it. It's a great interface. That's easy to use. But for the sake of what we're doing for maintenance, we're not going to talk about that because effectively these questions can and would revolve around Analytics Builder. And Analytics Builder, this is where you go for those insights of behaviors, of activities, of performance, anything to do with a whole myriad of topics, which we will look at in the platform in a moment when we go into it, but all around your email marketing, all around your journey, just whatever's going on in your account. So you can measure engagement, you can configure certain dashboards, which we'll talk about that separately. You can view behaviors, kind of as we'll see, there's a bunch of different scenarios this can account for. And all this screen is just to show that this Analytics Builder covers all the categories of your account. You can do channel specific between email, mobile push, cloud pages, journey builder. You can get administration, high level, you can get contact specific, whole bunch of different categories. And what you see down below is an example of what it can produce. In this case, we've produced a CSV file. The CSV file here is, I believe this one was the recent email send summary. And you can see it gives me all the information I need around whatever campaigns were sent in the last 7 days. I want to go jump into the account. I know I see the time. I want to jump into the account soon, so we can take a look there. But all of this is to say is, as an admin, you've got a whole lot of tools in your toolbox to monitor and to maintain the health of your account. And as a good admin, when you have the keys to your kingdom and you can start to mold this in your eyes, you're going to go in, you're going to create your send logs, you're going to set up some exports, you're going to set up some notifications. All of these things are just part of the doing business in there, so you can get ahead of things. Any questions from anybody before we hop into a Marketing Cloud account? I'm aware we have a half hour left. So what I wanted to do in the Marketing Cloud account is let's just take a look at what this looks like in the real world. Keep in mind that this is a demo account. I don't have a ton of sending in. In fact, I don't really have any sending in here, to be honest. So I'm not really going to provide rich information here, but that's fine. This is really just meant to demonstrate to you what these tools actually look like in real life. And where shall we start? Let's start in our automation studio. Let's take a look at some of these different activities we had just talked about and looked at. So I'm going to speak in detail through this. If you already know how to navigate our Marketing Cloud, bear with me. But for those who don't know, to access my automations, I'm going to hover over the Journey Builder dropdown. And this is where anything to do with automated activities in the account can be found. Journey Builder being one of them, but we're going to go to Automation Studio. So again, you can imagine you've got a mature account. There's hundreds of different automations, all doing a whole bunch of different things. And in and amongst those automations, I might have a series of automations running some of my maintenance monitoring tasks. An example might be a tracking export. I have been tasked to provide certain raw tracking data to our analytics team. They wish to pick it up in the SFTP, so they can grab it and do whatever magic that they do. So a basic tracking extract here sets up basic configuration around what are the type we want to grab, what is the type of activity we're going to run, and how does it work. And let's click in the one just to take a look. So in this one, I declare, when I pull all of these data files out, what do I want to call this file? So you declare names. You might have to do a zip if you're pulling multiple files, but you can see as extract type goes, I have selected the tracking extract. Once you set this, you can't actually undo it. So I'll show you what that dropdown looks like in a bit, but effectively I set up my basic name of it. I set the file name. If I go to my next screen, this is where, in a great user interface, I can control and easily access all of that different system data behind the scenes. And what you see on the right is just a whole bunch of different options. I'm not going to go through them all. You don't need to know each and every one of these for the tests. But you can see selected are some of the standard. I want the sent data information, the opens, I want job information, unsubscribe. I select whatever my menu items are for this particular extract. And on the left, I have a whole bunch of different options for how I might configure this to run. I want it to grab everyone from the last 30 days when I run as a CSV file. I can set the time zone for it, whatever you need. And quite literally, that's it. No queries needed. You don't have to know how to code anything for this. Just set that configuration, finish it off, and then now you have it locked and loaded. Technically, it's missing a final step to move it around, but we're not going to deal with that right now. We're going to look at that in a different automation. So there is your tracking extract. And what I might just show you quickly while we're here, that's one that I preset. But if I were building a net new extract, and I open this up, I'm going to create a new data extract activity here. These are two that I've already pre-created, but let's just pretend I'm making a net new one now. I'll select this option here, and this is where I begin. And it's the only thing I wanted to just point out here. All these other steps are essentially the same, depending on what you pick. But here are a whole bunch of different extract activity types available. Again, we're not going to go through each and every one of these. I wanted to highlight kind of the main ones that I think are probably going to get used 98% of the time. But there are a bunch of other options here that fit a bunch of different purposes. So I certainly implore anyone to, if you're curious, check out the documentation. They got lots of kind of good documentation on each of these. Get a feel for what else is going on. You may find that your trail access log might be useful to you, whatever your user's been doing in here, but something like that. So next up on let's not save that. Next up on that, let's pretend actually what I want to do is extract a data extension. So here I'll click into my automation here. Again, this is one that I might have set for a specific time. I want this to run every Monday at 8 a.m. We'll pause that. And if I open up this data extract activity and I click into it, I can see that I have created a data extension extract. And I've set the file type that it's going to produce when it pulls the data. And when I select this particular extract type, it means that when I go to the next page, I can declare, based on my data extension unique identifier, the customer key, go to that data extension, grab everything that exists within there, include headers, a few other settings, common and limited, but that's it. You just set that, declare the data extension, and now this is set when you run this to pull the data, produce a CS file, and put it up in Safehouse. Now, a thing to note for everyone here is there's two steps that are effectively always required to get data from your Marketing Cloud account to the SFTP. Step one is the physical extract. Then you must always transfer that file that you've just created to the SFTP. And one thing you might have noticed me do is you need these to be able to work together. So I copied my file name that I just produced. And we'll just go through this again. So I just copied that because I need it to be exact. And now what I might do is go set up my file transfer. knowing that the first activity is going to lift up the data, put it in the safe house. Now I'm going to go create a new file transfer activity. I'm going to call it demo day, what have you. And I'm going to select the option to move file from a safe house. So for as long as the first activity runs, we know there's a file there. And that means when I go to my next step, I just declare look for the file in safe house called data extraction, data extension CSV. And if you find that, put it in this case, the import folder of my account. You can set different locations, but I only have the one available now. So conceptually, I hope you can kind of understand the steps there. Step one, identify the data extension, grab the data, lift it up into the safe house as a CSV. And step two, which is I did here, is a transfer activity, go to the safe house, look for the particular file I've declared. And if you find it, take that file and put it in this case, the import folder of your SFTP. I'll go next, I'll go finish. This is always fun. This is work in a live demo. Sometimes it doesn't. Just as you might notice, I just did a run once there, which is a nice feature of the automations. I can control that. A fun tip is if you're not sure what your automation is doing, if you go attempt to save it and you get that red error, that is a good thing. It's a good error. It tells me there is something going on. Sometimes it gets a little delayed, which is fine, but sometimes it can be tough to know what's going on behind the scenes. So I might just click that just to confirm. Technically red is bad. We all know that, but in this case, I like it because it tells me that, okay, something's going on. I just got to be patient. Patience is a virtue. And again, if there's any questions that come up, let me know. Like for example, did they go to the safe house? Yes, when I run this, it will always take it to the safe house. It's always kind of the in-between cloud, in-between location between the extract and whatever we do next with it. In our case, transfer. Okay, well, we'll let that do its thing. It does kind of take a bit of time sometimes, so not a big deal. We'll come back to it. The next one I can show you quickly. Courtney, it's a fabulous observation. And the short answer is no, I have it paused on purpose, but the beauty of the scheduled automation is I still, even though technically I have my scheduler set paused, it still gives me the ability to run once. Honestly, this will kick in a second. It does this. I don't know why it does it. That's fine. It forces me to slow down in life, take a breather, sip my coffee. Hopefully it gets fixed eventually. Now, the other thing I might show you, just for any of the coders amongst us, in particular the SQL coders, just to help you to understand and appreciate that all of those system tables are available to you via queries. Through SQL, you can access not just optimism is the key to life, despite how much you just want to pull your hair out sometimes. Pull your hair out with love and happiness. Through a query, I can access data extensions, and through a query, I can access system tables, and I can access both of them together through SQL. So what's an example of a query doing this? This isn't one that's going to actually produce anything because I don't have any bounce data in this business unit, fine, but this is an example of a bounce query. The purpose of this query was I want a query that's going to specifically look to see, hey, have there been any bounce records in the last 7 days of this particular email name? For some reason, maybe it's a critical email and everyone's supposed to get this. And even if they bounce, we need to know that so we can send them a separate email. Maybe someone personally emails them, I don't know. A scenario where it's absolutely critical to know, has anyone bounced off of this particular email name? So what you can see here is we're accessing the bounce system view, we're accessing the subscribers system view, we're accessing the sent data view, and the job data view all in one query. And with a bit of like SQL magic, which by no means am I an SQL magician, but with a little bit of like coding magic, you can join them all together to produce a custom output like this, combining data from different data places, submitting them all to one data extension for reference. So this is the case where I might, for example, have this bounce query set up, always monitoring to see, hey, has anyone bounced? And this is a perfect scenario where I might then follow it up with my verification. Because what I want this to do is tell me, hey, if ever you find a record that bounced for that particular email, email me, let me know so I can go export it, take action, whatever I got to do. So in this automation, not only would I run my query to produce the data, I would then set up a verification to kind of analyze the data. And if I go to set this up, it's going to allow me to monitor that the results data extension of my query. So I'm saying, hey, go take a look at my bounce records DE. And on the next page, I might say, if ever it's the case that the count is not, let's just say, equal to 0, i.e. it's anything, it's one or many records are found, I want you to send me an email notification to my email address and let me know, that's not how you type at all, but you get the idea. Let me know that there was a bounce. Take action, have a nice day. Send an email, and that's when I get that notification we saw back in the slide deck. So I don't want to go in every day to check this. I'm going to let my system work for me. And I know when I sleep at night that I have this automation always checking, always monitoring. I'll be the first one to let us know if ever it finds a bounce. Very common setup that I'll use in whatever scenario I need this for. I just happen to be using bounces for this example. So I didn't want to, we won't save that. I don't save that. There it is, finally kicked in. Okay, so we can see that finally the data extension extract, it did run the first one and it's green, and the blue means it is in process running the file transfer. And it actually might be done by the time I get here. Sometimes it takes a little while to kick in the gear. I don't know why it does that. What are you going to do? Eventually it will kick in the gear at some point. Maybe it's because it's 4 o'clock Eastern and everyone's trying to do a lot of things. So we don't have to wait for that to finish. I think you get the idea that that is when Courtney, I'll just run through questions. Courtney, so when it wasn't saving and you left, did it still save your changes? It's a great question, and presumably no, because you would have had to have saved first and then go run the query. So I mean, the short answer is yes. I mean, I would have saved it, but as long as I saved before I ran the automation. General rule of thumb, get a poster on your wall, always be saving. ABS. Whenever you see a save button, you might as well press it. So you don't lose countless queries like I've done through the course of my career. Hours of my life spent rewriting things. Yes, and then, sorry, so for the question about queries, you can just straight up, let's just, for example, I can build a query. If I pull it in, I can create a new query kind of in the automation itself, or you'll see up in the top here, there's an activities tab right beside here, and we won't say that. And this is where you can, if you wanted to, go create any of these activities first. Well, at least some of the activities. Go create the activity first, and then go to your automation and put it in the automation. Whatever your preference is, there's no kind of right or wrong to that. Any questions? I know I'm just looking at the time. Any questions around automations before I hop over to the reporting side? Not a problem. And actually, before we go to reporting, let me just quickly show you send logs just while we're in here. So we'll only take a second. So let's pretend I want to set up my send log data extension for this instance. There's no trick to it. There's nothing special about this. If you've built a data extension before, then you know exactly what to do. For myself, I navigated to my email studio, and I navigated now, or I'm going to navigate under my subscribers dropdown to my data extensions here. Wherever you wish to have your send logs, you can create a new folder for it if you like, whatever your organization is. But in your folder, which is to be the new home for it, same steps as you would do for building any other query. I go to create. I'm going to create a standard data extension. In here, when you see your creation method, you have a few options. We're going to create from template. And it's in here. These are all out of the box. You have no control over these templates. These are standard templates to achieve certain purposes. And in our case, the purpose we needed to achieve is a send log. The send log represents email as opposed to push send log as opposed to SMS send log. So that's it. You just, for a send log, you just need to choose the template. It must be created via this template here. Otherwise, it's not going to do anything like it's supposed to. But when I select that and I go OK, and I give it a, we'll keep that name in, sure. I don't have to make a send or anything. I might at this point put in my my data retention, maybe by days, 6 months I might do, whatever yours kind of preferred use case is. You can set that, and then on the next page is where we see it automatically creates the required fields for which you have no control over. But it's at this point I could add custom fields if I needed to. So I wasn't going to go into any more details there, other than I just wanted you to know that was there. Yeah, to Lucas's question, you know, where does it actually store that tracking data, tracking extracts? And in the Marketing Cloud world, that's what we call safe house. I may not be able to describe this perfectly. It's simply just in the cloud. It's an in-between place for which this kind of thing can be passed. So the tracking export, it produces the file, and up in the cloud, it puts that file you just extracted. And then the file transfer is what's going to the safe house, looking for the file you've declared, and if it finds it, it'll grab it and move it over to, in our case, the SFTP. System memory, yeah, it's a good way to think of it. I mean, you don't have access to it, you can't do anything there, but it exists. It's like purgatory between here and up there. Yes, yes, you always want to have 2 steps when you're trying to move these extracts around. The first step is the extract itself. The second step is always file transfer, to physically take the file from the safe house and move it to where you want to go. Okay, so for the sake of time, I see where we're at. Let's go take a look at reporting. So again, in Email Studio, you can see the legacy reports. Again, don't use these. Don't use these. These are classic reports. They served the purpose back in the day. They were fabulous for their time, but they're no longer needed because we have Analytics Builder now. But all of this functionality is repeated there. But this just gives you a feel of all the different types of reports that were available in classic content. Everything to do around subscriber information, email, sending, more holistic tracking information, kind of revolving around the different functionality of the platform. And all of the standard configurations you could do with this, rolling dates and email to yourself, stuff like that. But in our case, no, we're not going to use this because we know that Analytics Builder is the place to be for those who are in the know. So in this case, I'm going to go to Analytics Builder, which is in the main dropdown, not the Email Studio dropdown, but in the main dropdown hovering over the blue cloud. And if I go over here, I can go down to my reports option here, click into my Analytics Builder. Now, again, for the most part, what you see in Analytics Builder is effectively what Classic Reports was doing. It's effectively the same reports. Originally, this was geared more towards what was touted as Discover Reporting. Discover Reporting used to be a much more sophisticated way to effectively create custom reports where you control the X and the Y axis, you control what values are being prepared. The reason I'm speaking of in this is, boy, I can't remember the dates exactly. Anyone's welcome to speak into the chat if you remember. But Discover Reporting is effectively being kind of put to sleep. It's not something that's going to be maintained well into the future. Yes, thank you, Nate. It's not something that's going to be long into the future. So technically you can use it, fine. And I never want to discourage anyone from getting their hands dirty. Go play around with things, get a feel for it, but just know that it's not something that you are going to be using kind of into the future. That is what the Datarama reports is, I believe, meant to replace, because within there you can create pivot tables, you can do comparison. Please don't hold me to that, confirm what I said there, but effectively just understand that Discover reporting, you'll see it, but it's not something you necessarily want to mess with. And Discover reporting, you can see with any of these kind of blue boxes beside these activities represents Discover reporting, which I don't have access to in my demo account, unfortunately. But yeah, yes, thank you, Rennie. Effectively, yeah, you're not supposed to be using it. So new accounts aren't going to have it. Old accounts, they're not going to just remove it all of a sudden, but they're actively encourage you to stop using them, please. And thank you very much. Sorry, just stepping back a bit. Then I would use Analytics Builder for just the good old-fashioned out-of-the-box reports. All the smart people at Marketing Cloud have created these out-of-the-box reports that can do much of the standard processing you might need when it comes to your account. This can revolve around specific channels like emails, mobile, and push. If I clicked into the email channel, you'll see that all of those similar reports we saw there are available. You can see account-wide summaries that give you information on what's going on a high level, total sends at an account perhaps, just not detailed granular information, as opposed to my favorite report, my top 10 out of 10 report would be, for example, the recent email send summary. You know, this is the one I use 98% of the time. It satisfies most of the requests because this is the one that's going to give me, you know, let's just say a 7-day rolling report on what has been deployed in the last 7 days. Give me the name of the email, send time, subject line, open rate, deliverability, total sends, et cetera, et cetera. There's a whole list of fields that will pull. And like you saw in my slides, you'll get a CSV file or PDF of all of those on one place. You can take that, provide it to someone, export the SFTP, whatever it is you got to do. We're not going to go through each and every one of these reports. I certainly would recommend the recent email send summary is a standard one, but all of these serve their purpose. And you can see that they often kind of revolve around themes, subscriber specific information, send specific information, list information, email performance. You know, they all revolve around different themes or categories that might be useful to you. And you can see there's other ones. There's journey builder specific reports where I can have a one stop to pull a report to give me the performance on all of my journeys and all versions of my journeys, produce one file with all of that at one spot. It's good to have that because you can't get that kind of view with the standard email reports, as opposed to a journey report, which will give you the full view of how a particular journey is doing, or many journeys. So that's a very useful one, very, very useful one for sure. Use that quite a bit. And then there's administration ones that, to be honest, haven't come up a whole lot, but I don't know. Again, we're not here to go through each and every one of the reports. I always encourage everyone, dabble around, you know, go check them out. Don't be afraid to check them out, but just to know that they're, and to kind of understand what are the capabilities, what kind of information can these pull. You'll see that there's general themes around them, around what they pull, and you'll see that there's kind of general buckets that any given one might apply to. Now, I know we have 10 minutes left. Dawson, I didn't know if you had anything you wanted to speak to in those 10 minutes. Did you have a preference what we do next?
Thank you very much, Tom. This is really wonderful, and I appreciate you monitoring the chat and answering the questions right away. I think we have covered all the questions. If anybody has any questions, please post them in the chat window now. We still have 10 minutes. Tom, I appreciate him extending his time and being available. So any other questions, post them in the chat window. If you don't have any other questions, okay, I see some questions, Tom.
Yes, let's get into them. We have a question like, well, how are reports different from data extracts? Think of it as raw, unprocessed, unfiltered, just straight up big pile of data is what a data extract represents. Most applicable to a data team that could probably do magic with that, as opposed to a report, which is a nice process report that can, calculate numbers and produce for you, say, one file that will tell you this email sent this many emails today, and this deliverability rate, etc. So a report is out of the box processed information, easy to use, easy to read for you and your team. And the data extracts are just unfiltered, unprocessed, raw data, effectively unusable to you. You can't really do anything with the data, a tracking extract, for example. You can't really do anything with that as it is, so you can give that to your data team and they can do something.
Awesome. I can read out the next one.
Sure.
Automation Studio errors are not that much explanatory. How to extract more details on them? That's a good question.
Well, yeah, and unfortunately, you don't always get everything you want in life. And automation errors are an example. The automation error is only to let you know that your automation as a whole stopped. It erred, something went wrong within it. And unfortunately, what that means is you as an admin have to do the investigation, go into the platform, go to that automation. You will see in the automation, one of the automation or the activities is red. There was an issue with, oh, my file transfer. And I tell you, 4 times out of 5, when that happens, it's because I have a wrong file name in my file transfer or something like that. You're going to have to investigate a bit to get to the bottom of like, why did that activity not run like it was supposed to? Why did it throw an error?
That's a great answer, Tom. And if it could help for some of the logs which we are not able to view, Salesforce support would be able to have more insights on the logs in the backend. You can reach out to the support and they can give additional details as well.
Yeah, actually, if I could give a Tom's top tip, don't ever hesitate to log a case with Salesforce support. They are my best friends from Monday to Friday as I'm working in the account. I use it all the time. Questions about this, that, and everything in between. So if ever you're unsure, they've got your back. They're there to help you as best as they can, always. It's your tool to use.
Yeah, Tapati has something to add for the SSJ step in an automation. Failed for a successful automation, couldn't see any details. So Tapati, you can log a case as suggested and get some details from the support. They will be able to gain more access to the log in the backend, so they can provide more insights on that. And the other question, can you show how or where to modify the send log data retention after it's been already set?
Boy, that is Nate, you really threw one at me there, didn't you? Boy, I will be honest, top of the mind, I can't remember that one top of the mind right now. After it's set, I would have to get back to you on that, Nate. I honestly can't remember top of the mind right now, unless, Justin, you happen to know top of your mind as well.
Okay. I have one question by Guljar. I don't think that's been answered. So he's having some similar kind of issue with looking at the logs for some SMS personalization. I will read out that question. I'm currently facing an issue like, case is this for SMS personalization? I have configured import activity from contact builder. It is importing the DE contacts to all contact mobile process. When my import is successful, got notification to configure email. But when it is failing, it's just showing fatal error as status and doesn't send any email. Is there any issue with the org, or do I need to raise a case for this to Salesforce?
Huh. Yeah, I'm surprised by that, to be honest. You should be getting an email in either case. So yeah, top of the mind, it sounds like something's up. And usually in that case, like you yourself don't really have control over things. This is when you must reach out to Salesforce support because they have capabilities we don't on the front end. So certainly that's the first place to look, but I would expect that indeed you should get an email, even in the errored state.
Great call out, Tom. And what was the other way to create send log? You have shown that we can create one from the data extension creation process. And the what's the other way to create this?
Boy, you're really throwing the stumpers at me there. I will admit I've only ever made it through the data extension there. I'm sitting here right now. I'm not even sure the second one. We can follow up with that for sure.
Yeah, even the only way that I know is it has to be the data extension has to be created from the template, and once it is created, the logs can be routed to that created send log.
Yeah, I agree. I believe that's the only way. I say that with like 95% certainty, but what am I ever 100% certain about? Always be a little bit doubtful. Maybe there's a hidden feature.
Yeah, we'll check it out. So other question is about the Datarama reporting, and are all the features you demonstrated in Datarama included in the free version, or do we need to purchase, or do we need to upgrade?
Yes, this is what's pretty nifty and exciting. It's a free capability in any given account. You might have to ask to get it turned on. In fact, you probably do. And just to be clear, it's not Datarama as a tool that you're getting. That's a totally different platform that costs money. And to be honest, like there's a lot of work with that. But what's now available in Marketing Cloud is a specific application within Marketing Cloud, which they call Datarama email reports, I believe. It's kind of leveraging the technology behind Datarama, but it's free and it can be available to you. And it's a much more modern, very good looking a way to observe a lot of these data points in analytics. And it's in there, you can produce your own customized kind of comparison tables, pivot tables within the platform. I don't have it available in my demo, unfortunately. I couldn't get that set up in time. But I implore you, if you have a Marketing Cloud account, check it out. Definitely get a feel for it. You'll see it's very intuitive, easy to use. And if you don't have it, you just have to reach out to your account executive, I believe, and they can get that provisioned for your account for free.
That's a great answer, Tom. So to my knowledge, there is Datarama reporting for Marketing Cloud, which is available for free, and using which you can get some insights in the analytic data of the Marketing Cloud. And if you want some advanced features as well, you can upgrade to the Datarama reporting for Marketing Cloud Advanced. You can get in touch with your AE to upgrade to the advanced version.
Gotcha.
Okay, I think that is all, Tom, and we're also at time. And I thank you for being so flexible and for your patience with answering all the questions. And any other questions, please post them in the Slack channel. And any questions that are unanswered, we will be able to answer them during the Ask Me Anything panel as well. So we can wrap up today's session and thank everyone for joining, and Tom for sharing all your knowledge with us. And we'll see you next time, next Thursday with the setup second part. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Everyone.
You're all fabulous. Have a fabulous day. Talk to you all soon. Bye for now.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.